Could you survive 5 days crossing freezing ocean waters in an open wooden boat with no heating system, no electric blankets, no modern winter gear? Just wood, wool, and the people around you. The Vikings did exactly this, sailing through some of Earth's harshest waters to reach Iceland, Greenland, and even North America. But here's the fascinating part. They weren't just fighting against nature, they were working with it. These seafaring warriors created something remarkable on their ships, complete living ecosystems that helped them survive impossible conditions. Today, we're going to explore how Viking ships became mobile survival systems that kept crews alive in the frozen North Atlantic. If you find this story interesting, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more amazing historical content. Leave a comment below about what surprises you most about Viking survival techniques. When we think of ecosystems, we usually picture forests or coral reefs. But Viking longships and cargo vessels called knarrs were floating ecosystems too. Every element aboard these ships played a role in keeping the crew alive. The Vikings understood something important. Survival at sea wasn't about one single solution. It was about creating a balanced system where everything worked together. The ship itself, the cargo, the animals, the crew, even their food supplies, all formed parts of one connected network. This network generated heat, provided food, managed waste, and created shelter. The Vikings didn't have textbooks about ecology, but they lived and breathed these principles every single day. Here's something that might surprise you. Vikings often brought farm animals aboard their ships. Sheep, chickens, and sometimes even cattle traveled across the ocean with the crew. These weren't just future meals, they were living heating systems. A sheep's body temperature stays around 102 to 103 degrees Fahrenheit. When you pack several sheep into the hold of a ship with 30 crew members, all that body heat adds up fast. The animals generated warmth constantly, 24 hours a day, creating pockets of warmer air throughout the vessel. The ship's wooden construction helped trap this heat. Viking ships used a clinker-built design, where overlapping planks formed the hull. Spaces between the planks were filled with wool, moss, or animal hair mixed with tar. This created surprisingly good insulation that kept cold sea breezes out while holding precious warmth inside. Based on what we know about Viking ship design, this combination of animal heat and insulated construction could have raised temperatures in sheltered areas of the ship by 10 to 20 degrees compared to the outside air. But the animals weren't just fuzzy heaters. They served multiple purposes that made them invaluable to the shipboard ecosystem. Chickens provided fresh eggs throughout the voyage, giving the crew a source of protein that didn't require cooking. Sheep and goats produced milk that could be turned into cheese or butter. Archaeological evidence from ship graves like Oseberg and Gokstad shows that Vikings carried large wooden troughs and barrels specifically for storing dairy products and water. The animals also helped with waste management in an unexpected way. Their manure, while smelly, absorbed moisture from the ship's bilge, the lowest part of the hull where water collected. This kept the living area relatively drier. After reaching their destination, this manure could be used to fertilize new farmland in settlements like Iceland and Greenland. Nothing was wasted. Every byproduct had a purpose. This could have made the animals more valuable alive during the journey than as immediate food sources. Viking food storage was a masterpiece of planning and preservation. They couldn't exactly stop at a grocery store mid-ocean, so every meal for potentially weeks-long voyages had to be packed before departure. Norwegian law from the medieval period, which likely reflected earlier Viking Age practices, specified exact rations, about 880 grams of barley flour and 285 grams of butter per person per day. That's over 1 kilogram of high-calorie food daily, enough to fuel the intense physical labor of rowing and sailing. The Vikings packed their food in wooden barrels, ceramic jars, and leather bags. They used every preservation method known to them.
Fish and meat were dried in open air, creating products like stockfish from cod that could last for months without spoiling. Drying removed moisture, which bacteria need to grow. This technique was so effective that stockfish is still produced in Norway today using similar methods. The Vikings also heavily salted meat and fish, though salt was expensive and had to be imported or made by boiling seawater for hours. Perhaps the most ingenious preservation method was fermentation. The Vikings were masters of fermentation, using beneficial bacteria to transform and preserve food. They fermented vegetables into sauerkraut and pickled herring in barrels. They made skyr, a fermented dairy product similar to yogurt that's still popular in Iceland today. These fermented foods weren't just for survival, they were actually healthier than fresh foods in some ways. Fermentation creates vitamins and probiotics that support digestion and boost the immune system. For sailors eating mostly dried food, these fermented products provided crucial nutrition. They helped prevent diseases like scurvy that plagued other seafarers for centuries. The Vikings didn't understand vitamins or bacteria scientifically, but generations of experience taught them that these foods kept people healthier on long voyages. Ship provisions also included sea biscuits, dense flatbread made from barley flour, wheat meal, dried vegetables, and sometimes smoked meat. These hard biscuits could last for months and provided concentrated energy.
The crew itself was a vital part of the shipboard ecosystem. 30 human bodies generate massive amounts of heat. Each person produces about as much heat as a 100-watt light bulb, around 350 BTUs per hour. Multiply that by a full crew, and you've got a significant heat source. Vikings maximized this heat through smart sleeping arrangements. They used two-person sleeping bags made from sheepskin and animal hides. These waterproof bags were nearly airtight, trapping body heat from both people inside. Based on historical descriptions and modern understanding of shared body heat, these sleeping arrangements could have kept sailors significantly warmer than sleeping alone, potentially by as much as 10 to 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Crew members would rotate watch duties, so there was always someone awake navigating while others rested in the warm sleeping bags. When weather permitted, Vikings would lower their large square sail to create a tent over part of the ship. This trapped warm air and provided additional shelter from wind and spray. The close quarters might seem uncomfortable by modern standards, but this proximity was essential for survival. Living in such close quarters for weeks required surprising attention to hygiene. Vikings had a reputation for being cleaner than many of their European contemporaries. They brought wooden buckets for washing and for dealing with human waste. Waste was either thrown overboard away from water sources or, in some cases, collected in designated areas. The constant movement of the ship and saltwater spray helped keep surfaces clean. The Vikings also changed and mended their wool clothing regularly. Wool has natural antibacterial properties and continues to insulate even when damp. Historical accounts mention Vikings sewing their sleeves shut each morning to create airtight seals that trapped body heat. This daily maintenance of clothing was crucial for warmth retention. They understood through experience that well-maintained gear could mean the difference between life and death in freezing conditions. The mental challenge of these voyages can't be overlooked. Spending weeks in a cramped, cold, constantly moving ship tested psychological resilience as much as physical endurance. The Vikings countered this through strong social bonds. Mealtimes, though the food was simple, became moments of rest and storytelling. The crew would gather around a firebox, a stone or iron slab in the center of the ship, where they could occasionally cook fresh-caught fish or heat water. These communal moments reinforced the sense that everyone was in this together. Shared suffering and shared victories created powerful bonds between crew members. The Vikings also maintained morale through games, singing, and recounting sagas. These weren't just entertainment, they were survival strategies that kept spirits high and minds focused. Based on what we know about human psychology and historical Viking culture, this social cohesion could have been as important to survival as any physical preparation. The Viking approach to shipboard survival offers lessons that echo in modern closed-loop systems.
Space stations operate on similar principles: limited resources, recycling of air and water, and careful management of waste. Submarines likewise create self-contained environments where every resource matters. Modern polar expeditions and long-duration sea voyages still apply principles the Vikings understood intuitively. Use body heat wisely, preserve food carefully, maintain equipment constantly, and support crew morale. The Vikings showed us that extreme environments require integrated solutions. You can't solve cold with just better clothing. You can't solve hunger with just more food. You need a system where each element supports the others. Their ships demonstrate early human understanding of sustainable living, where nothing is wasted and everything serves multiple purposes. This knowledge becomes more relevant as we face modern challenges like climate change and resource scarcity. The Viking longship was more than transportation. It was a testament to human ingenuity and our ability to work with natural systems rather than against them. These seafarers created floating ecosystems that kept them alive in conditions that would kill most people in hours. They used animals, preserved foods, communal living, and smart ship design to turn hostile oceans into survivable pathways. Their success in reaching Iceland, Greenland, and North America wasn't about luck or superhuman toughness. It was about understanding how to create balance in a closed system. The next time you see a picture of a Viking longship, remember, you're looking at a carefully engineered ecosystem, a mobile Arctic homestead that carried Norse culture across the frozen seas. If this video taught you something new about Viking survival, please give it a like and share it with history enthusiasts. Subscribe to the channel for more fascinating stories about how our ancestors adapted to extreme environments. What other ancient survival techniques would you like to learn about? Drop your suggestions in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.